Um, and again, it's just an array of things that we would do the first 100 days, but most of it would be just uh, surveying and examining. Now, when I put my plan into place, I'm talking about a sales committee that'll go across board to ensure that we have what we need in terms of import, export, trading with other countries and trading with other nationalities. The other thing is that is very important from a health perspective is looking at trying to get away from a lot of the synthetic medicine. And believe it or not, the more we grow, the more natural foods we put on the table, the better off we are as human beings.
We know that when the water is put on there and laying in your seeds, it's going to bring a harvest. And we got to make sure that we're doing our harvest and making sure that we are building our crops properly. I know that here in the United States, agriculture is a big thing. And here in this great state of South Carolina, we have to make sure that we put the right people in place. Well, I got with me a gentleman. He is running for Commissioner of Agriculture. He believes he's the right man for the job, so I'm let him speak for himself. The one and only Mr. Chris Nelms. How you doing, Mr. Nelms?
Good morning. How are you?
Fantastic, sir. Uh, to bring some education to this particular position, because a lot of people is not always, as you would say, broadcast as one of the top tiers that people see always all the time, but it does have a
I don't.
huge impact. What is your position? Like what entails being part of Commission of Agriculture so people can have an understanding of that position?
Okay. Just so that you can kind of have a clear understanding of what the commissioner does. It's larger than just farming. The commissioner of agriculture actually handles all commerce. Um, Anything that you can think about in life, he touches it. Or he or she, whoever's in the seat, touches it. Then I have to be correct, politically correct. And so we often look at it from a farming perspective, and it's very small. And so we have to educate people of the totality of this position. This position is one of the strongest, if not the strongest position in the state of South Carolina, to include the governor, because he has insight of everything that goes on in the state. So we start breaking it down into different segments. You know, you have farming, you have um, agricultural farming, you have the actual producing of goods in terms of hemp, and I think hemp is one of the I guess is one of my favorites because hemp can change the whole ideology of the state of South Carolina in terms of uh, producing, manufacturing, and then have cost of goods for the people of the state of South Carolina. And what I mean by that is breaking it down. You start talking about the hemp growers and how it has been established now. To be honest with you, the way that is established now by this commissioner, it brings it to a minimum point, but they don't reap the benefits that is there. We're talking about $1 billion industry, and right now they just slow walking it. So one of the things that I really want to do is I want to change the whole ideology of that. Open the doors, allow folk to grow it, produce it, sell it. And I'm talking about for those that are builders, we're talking about hemp flooring. We're talking about hemp concrete. We're talking about hemp sheetrock. I mean, this thing's just wide open. And so for Black farmers, it's a way for them to build their economic stability. So, I mean, we have a whole lot to work with. But here's the thing, we've been hamstringed for so long. That's the issue with South Carolina in terms of farming and agriculture is being hamstringed by government. Now, once I get in the seat, now I need folk to vote. Once I get there, we're talking about taking a industry and taking it and turning it into billions of dollars. And that means you have to have salesmanship. The commissioner of agriculture really is the top seller in the state of South Carolina, because he's going to take all of the goods and services that are in the state that are produced by the state, and he's going to share them abroad. Talking about import export. Our import export is media. But then you look at how they dredge out in the Charleston area. I know you're familiar with how they kind of open up the seaports and the sea lanes. The Commissioner of Agriculture guy has a whole lot to do with that. Now, when we start talking about import export, we're talking about fellowshipping with the folk in Ghana and Africa and all across seas and Cuba and bringing goods and services back and forth. We have an array of things that we can do, but we need the right person with the right plan that knows the landscape of South Carolina, that can infuse different things across the state that will give us a financial stability throughout the state of South Carolina. So that's my perception of things, and that's what I'm pushing for.
Got it. Now, partnership you mentioned with making sure that we don't get caught up in some of these crazy situations. What's a game plan that you have in place that you want to see happen on day one?
You froze on me, but I'm going to assume that you were talking about what would I do on day one. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, sir. What would you do on day one? I'm gonna let you get the floor and see what you could do on day one.
Yeah. Well, the first. Let me just say the first 100 days. I've learned over the years. I pastored for 35 years, chief pastor and overseer, and I understand. Sometimes you have to go in and survey the landscape. Yeah, that's been one of the most important things. So, as the chief pastor and overseer, I always look at the landscape for the first 100 days. Look at what is working, what is not working. Sometimes you don't throw everything out. Then when I implement the things that I want to see done, I use what they call a slow approach. I evaluate each element of every aspect of what's going on in the state of South Carolina. I start off with my hemp growers. I start off with manufacturers. I start off with the community, looking at some of the things that are going on in the communities, like the small gardens in the community, pushing and advocating for folk to start doing more in the way of small gardens, so that we look at it from a health perspective. I start talking about, and I will put in place some additional part of the agencies where folk go out and do more than just putting up signs talking about we're going to have small gardens, but going in and implement small gardens, showing them how they can grow and how they can have a better yield. For large farmers, we're looking at kind of changing and revolutionizing the way that they are planting their crops. Everybody like to water from the top up, but we'll be looking at watering from the root and putting in systems that will be able to handle the water services from the root as opposed to the top. Now,
Jeremiah.
And again, this is just an array of things that we would do the first 100 days, but most of it would be just surveying and examining. Now, when I put my plan into place, I'm talking about a sales committee that'll go across board to ensure that we have what we need in terms of import, export, trading with other countries and trading with other nationalities. The other thing that is very important from a health perspective is looking at trying to get away from a lot of the synthetic medicine. And believe it or not, the more we grow, the more natural foods we put on the table, the better off we are as human beings. So, I mean, that first 100 days, it's going to be hard.
Got it.
But once I get my plan set in place, then my whole goal is that we be self-sufficient. I mean, I'm talking about the state of South Carolina now. So, and hemp is really one of the things that will really carry us to the next level. Now, one of the things that's been on my mind and been in the back burner for a good little while is how do we handle reparation? And some folk are concerned about that. And you hear people say, well, we want to give you reparation, but we don't have the money to. Okay. Well, there are many different plans that we can use, and hemp is one of them that will provide the dollars for us for reparation if we will take all of the gloves off. And that's what I want to do, take all of the gloves off. I want to be able to have full reign of South Carolina. I want to be able to take South Carolina to a different level economically, that the financial resources, even the tax off the financial resources, would be a measure or a means to take care of reparation. Now, some people say, it may not work. Yeah, I know it can work, but everybody has to come to the forefront, have to sit at the table and be honest and forthright with each other. And it can work. I know it will work. Now, that may be a tough pill to swallow for some folk, but I think African Americans are due that much. We've been in this country, we farmed this land, we've been pushed off this land. I can share something with you, and most of us don't realize it, but in 1930, and this is not a Democrat or Republican issue, this is a South Carolina issue. But in 1930, here in the state of South Carolina, the Democratic Party, white farmers got together and they received their package, but the black farmers didn't receive anything. And that's still going on today. So we need to work something out. And then the commissioner of agriculture got to be the commissioner for all farmers, got to be the commissioner for all people. He can't sit up and make us, well, I have never really done anything for y'all. So, it doesn't really matter. The commissioner has to be an open person. He has to be a non-partisan person when it comes down to taking care of the residents and the folk of South Carolina. I think that I can do that. I think that I can work with people. I think that I can share. And even though we may have differences in certain lines, we have a common goal and a common ground. I can get to that common ground and make some changes in South Carolina. And then let folk know that when you push everybody up, the whole state benefits.
Got it. Now, in regards, you mentioned the state benefiting. The current commissioner of agriculture in the state of South Carolina has been in place since 2004. So we're talking about 18 years in office. Has not left the building. You mentioned about agriculture in regards of African Americans having a sort of a voice at the table, and you mentioned about equality. You mean making sure that everyone has a voice at the table. Now, keep in mind, you talk about reparation. People have talked about that for some time, for African Americans, and putting things back on the table for people of color. We talked about it. How are you going to stop the naysayers? Because people go say, I've heard it before. I've heard that type of rhetoric tone. We know as a society, we know in the state of South Carolina, certain things, it's a very conservative state. People have the same old rules have always applied, has not changed in the past, I would say 20 to 30 years. Things have not really changed in regards of moving the needle forward in regards to diversity. If you got an opportunity to be commissioner of agriculture, that'd be a huge step in the African American realm, because we haven't really seen one in the state of South Carolina. South Carolina does not really have people in big office. So you mentioned what you want to do and the 100 days that comes into place, and I'm all for it. But it's always, you have to partnership with other people in regards to moving the needle forward. How are you going to stop those naysayers from moving the needle forward, from stopping your agenda? Because in the 100 days as you get in, that's a game changer. It's a game changer moment in the state of South Carolina. We would say Senator Tim Scott, first African American of South Carolina. You will be one of the first. We always know with change comes challenges. How would you stop those challenges first day of office?
Okay, first off, I think for the most part, in the state of South Carolina, most people, I'm not going to say all, but most people pretty much know how I am. Most people that has been familiar with my understanding know that I'm fair, I'm forthright. I'm gonna be straightforward with you. Okay. That's one of the reasons why I said the first 100 days, I really don't change a whole lot. I just examine what is not. Now we realize that South Carolina has a good old boy system. Okay, I'm very familiar with that. Okay, I've been on this earth for 61 years. I know a lot of folk, Democrats and Republicans. The way I change mindsets, I change it by sharing that it's not a Democrat issue or a Republican issue. It's a South Carolina issue. And so to share with folk, and I know that one of the added that has gone on for years, and you say 25 or 30 years, but brother, I can take you back about 60 or 70 years and tell you that one of the things that have happened to us as a people is that we have gotten disenchanted by the system. This is not the first time that has happened. We have not been motivated by the system. And let me share something with you right quick, like just 30 seconds. A party was formed in 1969. And this party was formed out of the fact that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party was not addressing the needs for Black folk in South Carolina. This is the only political party that is run by Blacks. Okay. And then as Democrats started to negotiate with folks in this party, they were able to galvanize and get some of them to come over. And this is what strengthened the Democratic Party. But for the most part, South Carolina has a party that is started by Blacks, and it promoted the political agenda for Blacks. And it still is in existence. Okay. Now, based on that, it was that excitement going on. And in that excitement, we were going to run our candidates. We were going to look at the agenda that would be fair for all people. And now we're back to that, looking at things that would be fair for all people. We need a party that's going to speak to all of the people. And it's here. It's been here. It hasn't gone anywhere. We have to, as a group of people, I'm talking about the state of South Carolina, has to say that it's enough of this partisan bickering, because we all suffer. So we change our whole mindset, and that means that you have to educate people. You have to share with folk, Black and white. You have to let white folk know that, guess what? Just because I'm asking for a reparation, that doesn't mean that it push you back. And actually, it will push you forward. It would help you out by you taking care of me, because we are the only groups of people. If you think about it, the Japanese got reparation. The Jews got reparation. Okay. And you look at us going through the Miller Passage, and we haven't gotten reparation, but yet we farmed the land. We tilled the ground. We were part of industry. We're part of mill life. We were part of every fabric of the state of South Carolina. And when the time comes, we don't get our just due. Now, without folk really knowing about it and realizing, whenever you have one group of people that is not getting their just due, it really hurts everybody. Remember, we are weakest at our weakest link. You build up your weakest link, I promise you, the state of South Carolina will change its old ideology. Education. We're talking, we don't have enough money for education. We're talking about putting money in the coffers. We're talking about putting billions of dollars in the coffers, where the legislation will have enough to do whatever they want to do in terms of education. Now, that means that everybody has to come to the table, and everybody has to sit down and say, look here, how will this benefit us all? And it can. We all can win, but we have to have a heart to win. And so with this race that I'm running now, I'm getting folk excited about being a South Carolinian. I'm saying, look here, man, I'm from South Carolina, and we done some major things. We changed the whole economic stability of South Carolina. When you go to other states and say, I'm from South Carolina, we're not talking about all of the things that are happening in the past, but the things that are about to happen now in this future. Now, folk can get excited about that, white and Black. And we can have a better South Carolina. And this thing called racial divide, all of that can be eliminated. Now, again, it takes work. I believe this position is the position that can mend the scar in South Carolina. And we talk about it from a grassroots perspective.
Wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it very first. To create change is going to create growth. Growth requires pain. And with pain, it's like muscles. Like, I'm building a muscle. So, South Carolina, November of this year, you know, you've heard him first. Commissioner of Agriculture, Mr. Chris Nelms, will be running. Give him an opportunity. You've heard him. The information is available on the screen. So where you can contact him, where you can donate. I want you all, if you want real change is going to require you to take a look in the mirror and say to yourself, am I really part of change? Or am I really part of the same old system? Systems are meant to be changed. If system is broken, let's fix it. Let's make amends. So, ladies and gentlemen, today, give someone an opportunity, check his record, get in contact with him. And I pray that this episode not only did bless your life, that your life never been the same. Hey, my name is Calvin, the Logan Power Show, nationwide, worldwide. Let's make a change to America today. State of South Carolina, you on the clock. Let's make a difference. We'll see you soon.
It's the Logan Power Show. Inspirational and motivational. It's the Logan Power Show. Informational to help you grow. Logan Power Show.